Hello there, dear friends, and welcome once again to the Relaxed Fantasy Review. Today, we're going to be talking about a subclass of the wizard, straight out of Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, the Scribes Wizard. A Scribes Wizard takes the concept that wizards are the book nerds of D&D and dials it all the way up to its natural conclusion. A Scribes Wizard literally uses their book for almost everything. Their abilities stem from their Awakened Spellbook, which is something that they get at second level when they choose the subclass. They can use their spellbook as a spellcasting focus, which has always seemed a little strange to me that normal wizards couldn't do that, because that makes sense to me. Their spellbook is full of magic. But this one can actually use it as the focus. No need for a wand or a component pouch or anything like that. They also, once per long rest, can cast a ritual out of the spellbook without taking the extra 10 minutes. That's normally how ritual spells work. You can cast them without using spell slots by taking an extra 10 minutes to do so. A Scribes Wizard can do this once without doing that, which effectively means they get an extra spell slot equal to the highest ritual they know, or whatever ritual they want to cast. And the coolest part, in my opinion, of the Awakened Spellbook is the transmute spell concept. If you know a spell of a specific level, you can then cast any other spell of the same level and change the damage types. For me, there's no better way to talk about this than to talk about the first level spell Chromatic Orb, where you can choose one of several damage types for your attack, and then combining that with something like Magic Missile or Burning Hands, a more classic damage-dealing spell, and instead of having fire in your Burning Hands, you can do whatever it is that Chromatic Orb can do. Or if you want to swap out force damage in Magic Missile for fire or acid or something else, you can do that. The spell still functions the same, you just do a different damage type. This is a great way to get around damage resistances pretty much for the whole wizard's career, and the Awakened Spellbook is definitely a 9 out of 10 feature. They also get another feature at level 2. It's more of a ribbon, unless you look really closely. It's called the Wizardly Quill. As a bonus action, you summon up a magical quill. It's just a quill, and most quills need ink to work. Well, this one doesn't. You can write on any surface, in any color, without needing ink, which is cool, I guess, if you wanted to do that. But it does more than that. It also can erase itself, so you can write messages and erase them by waving the quill over them. And the real feature here is that you can copy spells much, much faster. 60 times faster, I might add, because the normal time it takes a wizard to copy spells into their book is 2 hours per level of spell. There's 8 schools of magic that are in the player's handbook that are the subclasses of wizards. They can do it for half that, so that's an hour of time instead of 2 hours per level of spell. But finding another wizard's spellbook is still like a day or 2 long project, not to mention the cost. The Scribes Wizard can do it within 2 minutes per level of spell, meaning that it takes them a sixth of the time to copy a 9th level spell into their spellbook as it would a normal wizard to do a first level spell. That's actually really, really good. I mean, you're not always going to be copying spells out of other spellbooks and spell scrolls. That's kind of a when they come up sort of power, but that's a time saver. So I'm going to give the quill an 8 out of 10 for its amazing flavor and for its utility purpose of copying spells just quickly. 2 minutes, 50 gold pieces, there's a first level spell. Bam. And you can do it in 2 minutes while the rest of the party's still looting the room if you find a spell scroll. No problem. Now, at level 6, the spellbook increases its power with the Manifest Mind ability. Once per day, once per long rest, you can summon the mind of your spellbook. It manifests as a tiny spectral object, which is intangible. It can move through creatures, but not objects, so it can't go through walls. But it can move at a speed of 30 feet up to 300 feet away from you. which is a pretty decent distance to send your mind. Can't be hurt by physical damage, although it can be dispelled in theory. It has dark vision and can telepathically communicate with you what it's seeing. Unlike a familiar, this doesn't require you to shut off your own senses. You can just know what your mind, the manifested mind, can see, while you can also see and hear. And the coolest part of this is that you can cast spells through it. Proficiency bonus times per day. You can cast spells from the position of the manifested mind. The idea this comes on at 6th level is actually a wonderful thing, because you've got Fireball now. So you can, in theory, fly your manifested mind over the castle walls or over the bandit camp or whatever without ever putting yourself in harm's way. It's like having a drone, but unlike familiars, it doesn't restrict you to touch spells. It's any spell. You're just limited proficiency bonus times per day. So yeah, you can fly over the bandit camp at 6th level, drop some fireballs, use all your spell slots for all I care, drop all your fireballs and just explode the heck out of it, and then you walk in, you never even had to get your hands dirty. The manifested mind acts as, a replacement for familiars, kind of, for arcane eye, for, casting spells at range in places you can't see. It's phenomenally powerful when used by a smart and creative player, which a 6th level wizard probably is. So I'm going to give this 10 out of 10. Now at level 10, your ability to scribe increases because you get the Master Scriber power. The Master Scriber power gives you the ability to create a spell scroll every long rest. The trick about these is they aren't real spell scrolls. They're kind of meant for you only. You choose a 1st or 2nd level spell, you touch a blank scroll, and you transfer a spell onto it. It's automatically upcast 1 level, so you can Magic Missile the 2nd level, you can Scorching Ray at the 3rd level, whatever. And that spell has to have a casting time of an action, so it could be something like Invisibility, for example. And then you can use an action to cast it using the spell scroll. No one else can do this, unfortunately, so it's not like you can hand this off to someone else and then they use their concentration for it. But at the very minimum, it is a free spell slot when you take a rest that is a 3rd level spell slot for a 2nd level spell. It's not bad. It genuinely gives you a bit more flexibility in how you're going to cast your spells. So, yeah, I say 8 out of 10. Also, you are proficient in making spell scrolls, which is complex and expensive, but it's in the DM's guide if you want to read about it. So yeah, I say 8 out of 10 for the 10th level feature. And then finally, at 14th level, you get One with the Word. This is one of the most unique powers I've ever seen in D&D. It's super cool. Here's how it works. If your manifested mind is around, you can, when you take damage, choose to not take damage. Effectively, you dismiss your manifested mind as a reaction when you take damage, and the manifested mind makes it so you take no damage at all. If you do this, you roll 3d6, regardless of the damage you took. So it could be 1 damage, it could be 100 damage, it doesn't matter. You roll 3d6, and then you count up those dice, and that is how many levels of spells get temporarily removed from your spell book. So, if you roll 3d6 and you average out to like 9, for example, that means you can either get rid of like 9 1st level spells or 1 9th level spell, not that you have that at level 14, but you get the idea. These are spells that just remove themselves from your book. You don't lose them permanently. They come back after 1d6 long rests. So if you are filling your book with stuff, which scribe wizards are good at doing, if you got the money to do it, you don't need much time, and you just fill your book with spells. Every chance you get, you're buying spell scrolls. Every wizard you meet, you're trying to copy their stuff, and you fill your list with spells. This actually can work really good. You use it once, per long rest. And then you have to wait again to do it again. But that time you're about to take a dragon's breath, that time you're about to get crit, the time that you are really about to go down and your shield didn't save you, it's better, I'd say, to do this than to go unconscious. You know, you probably got a concentration spell up, you don't want to go down. So yeah, I would absolutely, at least you get to pick the spells. Worst case scenario, it's 18 levels of spells, which would suck. But you have them. And if you got to lean into some, you know, you just keep a couple key picks that you absolutely don't want to lose and the rest can go. I'd reckon most wizards can choose a couple spells that they can survive on for a few days, no problem. This is a 9 out of 10 power. It's certainly not something I'm going to use every time I take damage, but it is a good emergency plan with really no long-term effects. Like, it would be nice if you could just do this without losing spells temporarily, but yeah, I say it's a powerful feature. And you also get advantage on your Arcana checks while your spellbook's with you. That's the other thing One with the Word gives you, which is a ribbon feature, so cool. But yeah, there is quite a bit here under the Scribes Wizard. Between sending your manifested mind out, casting rituals, transmuting spells for free, sacrificing your spells temporarily to save yourself in an emergency, this is a really interesting wizard. It's defensive, it's offensive. It doesn't give you any like spell empowerment per se, other than the transmute power, but I still think this is a really strong wizard. I'd give this 9 out of 10. I'd say that a person who understands the value of spells and understands the value of getting a thick spell book as a wizard is absolutely going to rock a Scribes Wizard. And having a tactical advantage of casting spells at a far range, having a scout that's intangible, all good stuff. 9 out of 10 for the Scribes Wizard. Really hard to go wrong with this one. This has been the Relaxed Fantasy Review. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe down below. And keep your eyes peeled for more subclass reviews coming down the line soon. Have a good one, my friends.